Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wisdom Wednesday episode of the Alter Your Health podcast. I'm Dr. Ben.
And I'm Dr. Susanna.
And we are both naturopathic doctors who empower you to heal yourself through food and mindset, specifically whole food, plant-based nutrition, as well as understanding the principles of mind, thought, consciousness, and the brain-body connection. And today on Wisdom Wednesday, we're talking about social norms. This came to our thinking, to our minds just recently, and how they're kind of weird, some of them, and it's like, where do they come from, and how do we collectively agree to follow them? So I know Susanna has some experience and insights to share, and I'm sure I will as well.
Yeah. This conversation came up in our Monday Peace on Earth call, and it kind of hit me. It kind of struck me. I caught myself kind of following a thought process, or maybe like a collective judgment, without really realizing it. And so I'll just share, if you've been listening to this podcast in the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've picked up on the fact that I've been in the process of healing some back pain. And while I feel so much better now, which is wonderful, a few weeks ago, I was really in the midst of suffering and a lot of fear. And when I was caught in that fear, I remember just like blurting out loud and saying to Ben, like I need to see a specialist in TMS, in tension myositis. I need to hear from a doctor, like a real medical doctor. I need to hear from them that, they're confirming, yes, this is what I have, and this is the course of action I should take. Like, I need to hear from that qualified professional. No, I won't see, any other kind of TMS practitioner. Has to be medical doctor. Now, you all know I'm a naturopathic doctor, right? So you know that I am a huge believer in natural medicine and alternative medicine. But in my fearful state of mind, there was this falling back into this kind of, I feel like there's this kind of collective norm, this understanding that MDs are at the top of the hierarchy. Like they're the smartest, they're the most experienced, they're the most qualified. They always have the best answers in every single circumstance when it comes to health. But of course, that's not always true. No offense to our medical doctors out there, but there are other practitioners who are able to help even more so, depending on what the situation is, depending on the patient, depending on so many factors. And I just kind of thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny how, I fell into that way of thinking. And then it started to make me think a little bit about what other kind of collective thoughts and beliefs societies have and create, and how, without even really giving it much thought, it's really easy for us to just kind of fall into it, to be impressionable in some way to whatever the kind of social norm is, or the social understanding, or the collective belief. So there's the introduction to this topic.
Cool. Well, I was thinking, as we brought up the topic of social norms, my mind jumped to this concept that was brought to my awareness of the mass formation psychosis, which is like some topic that was brought up on the Joe Rogan podcast with Dr. Robert Malone, talking about kind of just the collective social norms that have been created in the medical world, specifically, of course, related to the coronavirus scenario and whatnot, and how there's just kind of this mass formation psychosis. And when I was hearing them talk about this, I was thinking, well, that's always the case. There's always a degree of mass formation psychosis. Maybe it's not as inundated with corruption and all this questionable antics, but in any case, like, we are forming our collective thoughts and we are impressed upon by our society, by our colleagues, by our family, by our communities, and that impression is real, and we take that in and we allow that to whatever degree to form our thoughts and beliefs, and what ends up being, habits and patterns and tendencies that we can play out in our life. Now, the cool thing, of course, is that while we are impressed upon by our collective surroundings, we are also at the very same time completely free of that the moment that we bring a heightened sense of awareness to that fact. Because like once you see, I don't know, I'm also thinking about like the Matrix, and it's like once you have that insight that you're in the Matrix, then all of a sudden you're free from the Matrix. Even though you might still be in the Matrix, once you know you're in the Matrix, you're free, because it's the blindness, it's the lack of awareness that leads to that immersed experience that can be overwhelming, stressful, and lead to all sorts of messy situations.
Yeah, but it's just so interesting to consider, when we're talking about the three principles here, we talk about how thinking is really what creates our perception of what's going on in the world and in our lives. And if we consider that this is happening in every single human being in the world, like this is just how the mind works, the brain works, then we see that a lot of the social norms and the kind of collective beliefs and understandings are also just simply generated from thought. And it's like someone maybe, who knows, we could just create kind of a hypothetical scenarios. Like someone had a thought, another person said, hey, that's a good idea, let's go with that thought. A third person said, yeah, that's a good idea, let's go with that thought. And all of a sudden you've got people saying, okay, yeah, this is like the predominant, this is the agreed upon thought. And then it's like, then everyone just hops on board, right? Oh yes, this is what the experts are saying, this is what the thought is. And I mean, we can think of this is in the case of everything, so many things, rules, laws, actually legal stuff, but also the stuff that isn't even, legal or whatever, just even just social norms of how to behave as a good human being.
I'm thinking about how, someone might say, oh, this Friday, let's go to this restaurant, and, call up some friends, and everyone's like, oh yeah, let's go to the restaurant on Friday. And then Friday comes along and the person who initiated the plans is like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go. And everyone's like, oh, I've got this to do this weekend, I'm kind of feeling tired. But everyone feels that pressure that is literally everyone is created within themselves in order to carry out and execute the plan that no one wants to do. And of course, we are doing that to varying degrees all the time. And if we're really just radically honest with ourselves, not to say that we never commit and never follow through with our commitments if like we're just feeling a little whimsical, but the fact is that we can be free to choose how we show up and respond and communicate inside, have that self-awareness, but then voice that and create new social norms in a moment that might better serve humanity, serve our health, serve our well-being, serve just on the level of being raw and open and vulnerable and real, rather than just kind of like conforming to what we feel like or think that we need to do.
Right. Yeah. And I'm really glad you kind of brought in that the personal, like how this affects us on a personal level. All of these kind of social norms are out there, right outside of us. They're created by collective thinking and collective agreements. But when it comes down to us and our personal choice of how we show up in life, we always have the choice to respond in the way we want. And yeah, I would say definitely in my journey of healing back pain, I've realized how because of that desire to want to be the good girl, or the girl who follows the rules and the girl who doesn't make waves and everything, it's like I've always tried to suss out, okay, like what is the collective thought right now, because I need to go along with that. But I think the first time I really faced this was when I started eating in a way that wasn't consistent with the social norm, right? In college, it's like everyone's eating pizza and beer and everything. And because of the health journey that I was on, I would go to a restaurant and I would have to, have this like 5-minute conversation with the waiter about what I could eat off of the menu. And, many people would perceive that as annoying or high maintenance or this or that or whatever. But really it was just me showing up and honoring myself and not putting myself off to the side.
And I need to say that other people's perceptions of what you're doing to take care of yourself are in no way ever any of your business, right? Because of course people are going to think that I'm a clown and you're a clown and I'm an asshole and you're a dweeb and I'm a nerd, and people are going to have their prejudices and judgments and perception based on where they're at in the moment, and so that's none of our business.
Yeah. So, I think simply understanding where social norms come from, that they really only come from thinking, really helps us understand actually what little power they have over us. Because as we've always said in these podcast episodes, thoughts are literally formless energy that flow through our awareness. And there are some thoughts that we choose to hold on to and say, oh, that's a good idea, or that's a bad thought, or whatever. But it's and we're usually talking about like, don't cling on to the bad thoughts, just let them flow on by.
Do you say that?
I don't know. There's whatever. But in this sense of creating social norms, it's like really social norms come from clinging on to like a thought that all right, let's make this the norm. This is how we should do it. This is a good idea. Let's do this.
I guess that's why I've never felt like I fit in anywhere, which I think is quite healthy. I've come to appreciate the healthfulness of not fitting in, because what's the Krishnamurti quote? It's no sign of health to be well adjusted to a sick society. And that's what I was thinking in the back of my head this whole conversation. Of course, there's kind of also the social norm of physical health, right? And also mental health, whatever the heck that means. But in terms of like what's normal is not healthy. So we don't need to fit in with normal just for the sake of fitting in. We can forge our own authentic path, which is always going to be healthy for us in terms of aligning with our purpose, our soul. And of course, that resonance is of course going to have profound effects on our experience of physical health as well.
Yeah, exactly. That quote comes up a lot in our whole food plant-based discussions, because a lot of people, one of the biggest obstacles that they face when transitioning to a different way of living and eating is, all the opposition that one might face through their social circles or someone in their life, or even just societally. It's hard to find good whole food plant. It's almost impossible to find a good whole food plant-based meal at a restaurant somewhere, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not the best choice for you to make to still eat that way.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in to this discussion here on Wisdom Wednesday. As always, if you're looking to take these conversations a little bit deeper and explore these topics of mind, thought, consciousness, and the connections in your body and mind, you can join us in Peace on Earth on a sliding scale. Those calls are happening every week, and we invite you to join. And as always, we send you with peace and blessings of health, and look forward to connecting next time.
Bye for now.